Hey everybody, welcome to week 5 in our class. Can you believe it that we're already halfway there? Note that this week is going to be a pretty busy one, and I'm going to show you some content in here. I noticed that the writing assignment number 3 was published in week 4 by accident. So if you've already perused week 5, scroll into, when you go to content, the main content button here. If you click on it, it shows you it gives you like a week by week glance, right? If you click on week 5, you'll notice that there isn't an assignments to do little link in there. I apologize for that. For whatever reason, it was placed in the wrong week. Well, anyhow, let me show you what's going on this week. The first selection of content that you've got is you've got some readings and you've got a little bit of videos. In here, I'm going to put the readings at the top. For content-specific journal is only about 10 actual pages of writing, so it shouldn't be overwhelming for you. And then there's some formatting links as well through videos and through web pages for finding a DOI number or creating like a hanging indent in AP style. You've got this important section, and I mentioned it to a bunch of you last week, that make sure that you're not just looking at the sample reports, but you're also looking at the video overview from Professor Kavanaugh. He points out some very interesting elements of these sample reports. So we've got 4 weeks left in class. We're moving very quickly now. The proposal is due at the end of this week. Then you have a draft due at the end of week 6. And then you have 2 weeks to, have a week to give you feedback. And you've got, we can have 2 weeks to work on it. And then the final is due week 8. So this week you've got a deliverable, which is writing assignment number 3. Next week you have the draft, which is not graded, but you do want to submit it to get feedback. Okay. And then week 8 is the writing assignment number 4, big deliverable end of the course. So remember, don't forget to look at obviously both the sample reports, but watch the video as well and leave me questions. And I'll post additional videos this week to give you ideas and support on some of these reports from my perspective. Okay? Note that both the discussions this week are focused in that section. So you have 10 pages of prep reading on, doing interviews and surveys and writerly oriented content. And then you've got this section of student sample papers and professorial overview. Then for Friday main posts, you've got the 2 discussions. So at that point, the understanding is that you've been able to peruse the main readings and you've spread it out over a couple of days. And remember, don't forget to respond to your classmates. The discussions in the end end up being worth a lot. And if you forget those discussion responses, you're losing at least a letter grade on your overall grade just by dropping that part. So don't drop it out. My other recommendation in these discussions, as you click on them, is to make sure you're giving it a depth of discussion, especially in your response. If you respond, hey, that was a great post, I agree with you. It's fine to say that, but I think it's just as important to explain why you feel the way you feel about it. What was so particularly strong? So writing assignment number 3, memo to a decision maker. When you click on it, you get to the Word document. Let's see. Okay, so just as a reminder, proposal memo to the decision maker about the issue that you explored in your literature review, which was writing assignment number 2. Task, you will complete the following. Identify the decision maker, which I think many of you have already in prior discussions, so you've already done that. Check. Consider secondary research, which is from the literature review. Consider what you posted as what you think your primary research will be, and look at the feedback you got from your peers and myself to inform that primary research you're going to do, especially with time requirements. We only have 4 weeks to go. This proposal is due in a week. You don't have to have completed that primary research, but you have to make a thoughtful argument and you have to be very realistic. Say, for example, you're an employer at Apple and you want to talk about employee satisfaction. You're an employee at Apple and you want to talk about employee satisfaction. It is not reasonable for you to say you're going to survey every Apple employee. They may not let you do that, right? And the scope is so broad that you have to be realistic with the primary research. Part of my goal is how realistic is this within the time period and based on the depth of detail you've given myself as your primary reader on the project, your work environment, and that kind of thing. Okay, so here's a template for the memo. So formatting is not MLA or APA style, but I would like you to be consistent with your formatting, no crazy fonts or anything like that, but I would like those headers. Remember, the grading rubric does go over each of those independently. Okay. The length is 800 to 1,000 words. If you submit a 400-word memo, you're going to get a partial grade, but you want to get a complete grade because you did half of the work. Okay. Your final paper is a report on which you define a problem and propose a solution, and part of it is analyzing the data that you collect. Okay, so the purpose of this proposal is to demonstrate that the problem you've identified is significant enough to warrant an investigation and to present a feasible plan or blueprint for your research. Okay, then of course you will highlight the benefits of the organization. So what happens if this research is done, if and solutions are recommended. You've got a summary. The problem is much more in depth than a summary. It is a series of paragraphs. Secondary research is a summary of your lit review. Primary research, we've talked about that in the prior discussions. The benefit, 1 or 2 paragraphs. Conclusion, super conclusion, it's a memo, super short conclusion, 1 to 2 sentences. Now, if you have questions, this is the perfect week to reach out and work with me in a one-on-one conference. And if enough students are interested, maybe we could do a live Zoom session. I'd be more than willing to do that to help you put all of this together. This is due the 21st, so you've got a week starting tomorrow. So a week from today, right? Yeah, a week from today night, it's due. And I'm here to help you. Definitely reach out. I look forward to talking with you, seeing your discussions, and seeing your memo this week. Take care.